BugeyeBob here. It is time to talk about the elephant in the womb. Got a major problem in that I've been kind of working at this thing from front to back. You saw the work that I did on fixing the areas of the wheel wells and the upper parts of the foot panels and where the heater duct goes in and all that happy stuff. And I've torn off the A-pillar on the right-hand side, torn off the outer piece of it. I ordered the pieces to replace the outer and inner parts of the A-pillar. I got the outer part, but not the inner part. So I said, okay, I will jump over and I'll work on the driver's side A-pillar, left-hand side of the car. And I started tearing that apart. And when I was tearing things apart, I started seeing more and more problems with rust. And it's apparent that the rocker panels on the inner and outer rocker panels on both the driver's side and the passenger side have some serious rust issues, and I thought I might be able to patch up the passenger side, but that doesn't look too good right now. I'm kind of thinking that I might just as well replace both of them. So let's take a look at where all of those rust problems are at and talk a little bit about why they are particular problems and what the plan is to try to deal with this stuff. So, turn the camera around here. Going down along this side, I tore this all off, and this is all rusted out right in here. This is all rusted out right in here. This side of the rocker panel was dented in. I pushed it out a little bit and started looking at this. I went over it with the needle scaler, and one of the great things about the needle scaler is when you hit on a weak spot, it'll punch right through, so you find your weak spots pretty quick. All rusted out here, rusted out here, 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 and there's even a spot, looks like, yep, there's a spot right there that's rusted out. Now I'll use the little light and check on the inside. So the inside is rusted out here, here, here. This we knew it was rusted out. Up inside here, this is where it was crushed in from an accident. And you can see that the bottom of the footwell area is rusted. You can see that this main piece running front to back is rusted. The bottom of these cross pieces are rusted. This brace is rusted. The bottom of the tunnel for the drive shaft is rusted. This is rusted in here. This panel is rusted here. I'll put the name of that panel up here where you can see what the hell it is. And then these pieces right here, which are kind of hard to see, that is the front end of the spring mount for the quarter elliptical spring. So let's go look at the other side now. The front part here is rusted out. This has bent in a little bit here. It's not too bad. This is rusted out in here. I still need to take out the rest of this. It's rusted out here. I got a couple holes like this one and this one right here on the back that I can plug weld. I could put a big patch in right here, a patch here, and a patch up front, and that would make this outer kind of solid. I've got to patch up the top right here also, as well as patching up the edge of the footwell there. But that still leaves me the problem of what the inside looks like, which is a little rusted out back here, probably needs a patch. This is rusted out around here, rusted out around there, rusted out here, rusted around up front. And again, the bottom of the footwell is rusted. The bottom of this cross, or this frame piece right there is rusted, but I can patch that. And then this cross beam is rusted. This piece is rusted, and again, the back is rusted. And you can see that the fire, or the tunnel for the drive shaft, is rusted here and here. That I can fix pretty well. So what that leaves me with is I can weld in pieces of angle iron, kind of like so, from here back to here, down here, do the same, then do a cross like so, and like so, and then run some diagonals across like this to keep everything lined up for the upper part. But when I take off these rocker panels, the inner and outer, those are main structural parts of the frame. And the problem that leaves you with is all of this is rusted out, so you've got no support from in here on either side. You've got this little tunnel here, but once you take these inner and outer rocker panels out, you've got nothing to keep the alignment right on the side of the vehicle, or keep the wheelbase where it needs to be, make sure that your front end and rear end aren't out of square. So what does that lead to? That leads to building a frame jig, if you want to call it that. This is a unit body construction, so it doesn't really have a frame. With this unit body construction, your rocker panels, I suppose you could consider them part of the frame, but you tear them off and you got no frame. Up front, you have some frame. So you've got support on the front part here. These front rails going front to back, they're pretty solid, except there will need to be some patching on the inside of this one. I think the one on that side, on the driver's side, is probably still good. All of this across here is good. Up front right here, this piece is bent in a little bit. You can see it's warped up right here. I think I can heat this up with a torch and push it back out around and get it back into shape okay, and have that be good. But basically, and I can patch this up down here and straighten that out. Basically, from the footwell back, there's, from the footwell forward, it's good. But from the footwell back, you've got nothing to support and locate things within the body. So for that purpose, I'm going to build, I'm going to build a small jig frame, and I'm going to start it so that it starts probably, I don't know, maybe right around where the center of the front wheel is, which is roughly right in here someplace, and run it back. So the steel that I have to do this with is roughly, let's see what this stuff is. This is 38.5 millimeters, which is 1.53 inches square, and it is millimeters, 3.9 millimeters thick, which is about 0.153 thick in inches. This stuff comes in 7-foot 10-inch links. Did I tell you the outside dimension of this? Yeah, 1.516 something or other outside. That's square tubing. So this comes in 7-foot 10 and 3/8 inch long links. So my plan is to use those for the length of the jig. Now this car, the whole length of this car is only when the body's on it, when the bonnet is on it, the length of this car is I think 11 feet 5/8 of an inch or something like that. It's very, very short. The width of the car is about 52 inches, if I remember correctly. And the actual wet weight of the car with the motor, transmission, seats, everything in it is about 1,440 pounds or something like that. So you strip off the engine, the transmission, the drivetrain, the front suspension, all of that sort of stuff, yank out the seats and all the other sort of stuff. And I suspect that you're probably looking at a body that's like 500-600 pounds altogether. So it shouldn't really require anything stronger than this stuff is. And that is pretty sturdy stuff. So that's the plan to build it out of. Clang, clang, clang. So this is the type of frame jig that I'm thinking of making. You can see it's made out of tubular steel. It's maybe a little bit more than what's needed for this vehicle, and I'm kind of not sure. I found this on the internet. It looks fairly simple for construction. The only issue is all of those uprights, getting the width right, getting all the number of uprights right. This looks pretty complicated from the viewpoint of the fact that all of these horizontal pieces, or almost all the horizontal pieces on the top, are adjustable front to rear. You can slide them forward or backward however you need to. The cross pieces are, the vertical pieces are fairly adjustable also. The problem that I kind of have with this design is it's the sort of thing that you would build if you were going to be doing a number of vehicles. The adjustability that's in it is obvious. It's obviously designed to work with cars of various widths, cars of various lengths, so on and so forth. And it really is more of a frame jig than it is a body jig. But it is made out of square tubing. It is something that I can get my hands on readily. I'm pretty comfortable welding all that up. It's a lot of work for a one-time frame, though. That's the problem that I'm having with doing it. So it's going to still be up in the air whether I do a frame jig or I just build a subframe to go on the car and put it underneath the rotisserie. Right now I'm looking at the frame jig. I can probably take and cut it apart and use parts of it to make the part that's going to have to go on a rotisserie anyways when I get done with the frame jig. So we'll have to just see how it goes. The only reason for using something like this for a frame jig is it makes it fairly stable for as far as where the inner and outer rocker panels sit on each side, and those actually are what you would consider in the unit body world the frame of the vehicle. So that's where I'm thinking, folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the A-pillar areas stripped clean. I've got started on the right side. I've got most of the left side done. I've got to trim it up just a little bit, make sure that all fits. But I can't really weld those in because they have to sit on top of the rocker panels themselves. So I can prep them, but not really do anything other than perhaps replace the rusted out inner wheel well pieces. I can probably take care of those. Then I will have to strip the rack and pinion unit off, the front shocks off, the front suspension off, the A-frames, all of that stuff off. I'll have to strip off the rear axle, and I'm not sure whether I will go to the point of taking the leaf spring, the quarter elliptical leaf springs out or not. I may leave those in there for now, just because to take them out, I would have to tear into things that I don't want to tear into right now. To take them out, I would have to probably cut off the bolts that are holding them, and those bolts are tied to the pieces of the mounts for them that I want to use to hold everything in place on this frame jig. So that's going to be the plan. I will make the front of the frame jig probably as skinny as the front, the pieces that run front to back. I'll hit you with a picture of those, so you know what I'm talking about. I'll probably make the front of it that width, and then make the rear of it just within where those front to rear braces run underneath the floor plans, or run on top of the floor, where those pieces run on top of the floor plan. Where those braces, I'll make it so that it's just beneath where the front to back braces run on top of the floor pan. Geez, what a mouthful to try to get out. So, and I'll have to weld in those pieces of angle iron, like I said. By the way, talk about this angle iron. This is approximately 1 1/8 inches thick. Nope, I'm sorry. It is 1 1/8. It is 1 1/8 inches across here. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's bed frame. So if you want to get some cheap angle iron to use for temporary bracing like that, go to your local Goodwill, secondhand store, wherever, and they usually have a bunch of bed frames sitting around, because when kids go off to college and the parents know they're not coming back, then boom, they get rid of the beds and bed frames, and the bed frames end up at these places, and sometimes they have an excess stock of them, so to speak. I think I bought 2 king size bed frames. So king size, it's going to be about, I think those pieces are close to 6 feet long, maybe longer than that, but the individual pieces are like 63 inches like this one is. But you probably get, I'm guessing, 24 feet of steel for about $10. I think I paid somewhere between $10 and $15. Might have been $12 for each of the frames that I got. You can buy brand new bed frames. You go to a place that sells mattresses and stuff, and you can buy brand new bed frames there if you want the brand new stuff. Then all you've got to do is, there's rivets in them. You basically grind the tops of the rivets off. You punch them out with a drift punch, and you have a decent chunk of steel at a very reasonable price. Now, these other pieces, this stuff here, like I said, it comes in 7 foot 10 and 3/8 inch long pieces. And I live in Pensacola. There's a guy on Facebook on Pensacola that sells this stuff, and as I understand it, this stuff is used for when they're bulk packing sugar for shipment in ships. So they'll put up a layer of the sugar in, I guess, in bags, 100-pound bags or whatever, maybe even those huge monster 1-ton bags. And then they throw these pieces of iron in there to keep it all from shifting all over the place. And when they unload, it's like, hey, we got a whole bunch of iron. What are we going to do with it? Well, him and a friend of his buy it, and then they resell it. And they're people like me. I think the last batch I bought was under $20 a piece, $19 or something like that. I think he's a little bit less than that now. And I can't go to our local steel supplier. I'm not going to mention them because I'm a little irritated. In Western New York and in other places, I could go to the steel supplier and say, you got a 20-foot length of 1 inch, 1.5 inch tube stock, 1/8 inch thick wall. Can you cut that into a 10-foot lengths for me? Sure, no problem. Chop. It cost you like $1.50 for the cutting charge or whatever, and that meant that I could, pick up the steel that I needed. A lot of times you could go in there and say, hey, you got any drops? And somebody might have wanted 16 foot of the stuff. So, yep, okay, we'll chop you off 16 foot. We charge you a little bit for that cut, and then we stick our 4-foot length over here on the drop rack. And then somebody like me comes in and says, hey, you got any 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch tube? Yeah, how much you need? I said, well, I don't know. You got something around 3.5, 4 feet long? Yeah, let's go look on the rack. Oh yeah, here's one right here. Boom. What is it? Well, it's it's a whatever it was a foot, and then they charge you a little bit extra because they had to store it, and they charge you for the cut on it also. So the first guy got what he wanted. That left this piece over. I got what I wanted. They sold the piece and made a little bit extra profit on it, and life was good. Local steel place, 20-foot lengths only, and you cannot cut it on their property. You have to stick it on the top of your vehicle, drive off their property, stop on the edge of the road, and cut the damn thing somehow. And it's like, that's a pain in the ass, especially when you can buy these things, basically in a length that's easy to handle already. So that's my little rant on that. That, I think, catches you up on my plans to build the frame jig. We'll call it a frame jig, or body jig. I guess whatever. You know what I mean. And I am going to now jump back into working on cleaning up the rest of that crap on that passenger side A-pillar, making sure that everything's ready to go on it. I'll go over on the other side and clean all the crap off on it, make sure it's ready to go over there. And then we will get into other things. And those other things will include removing this sort of shrapnel from the front of the vehicle on each side. See you next episode, folks. Thank you very much.